Good afternoon, Sanjay ji. How are you doing?
Good morning, good afternoon. Couldn't be better. Always a pleasure to speak with you and connect with you.
Great. Just so that this is a standalone episode, I'll quickly introduce you and myself. My name is Chandan Ganwani. I am an entrepreneur and an investor based in Warsaw, Poland. Sanjay ji is a career executive and a business leader. He's held many executive and leadership positions across the globe, I would like to say, because you've done
Thank you.
many joint ventures inside and outside of India. We connected a few months ago on X and began talking about the progress India and EU are making economically. And since then, we did three audio podcasts, and I'd like to welcome our viewers to our first video podcast.
Absolutely. Welcome to episode four and welcome to the new world.
Welcome to the new world. Yeah, we had a lot of feedback from everybody saying that we should move into doing a video format. So Sanjay ji, let's start with the blockbuster news of the week. I think we have two blockbusters, some progress at your end and some progress at my end. We had great GDP numbers. Let's talk about that to start with.
Absolutely. So I think yesterday was a blockbuster Friday. You had an excellent GDP estimates coming in. We were 7.8% for Jan to March quarter, full year GDP growth at about 7.7%, which ensured India stays at the world's highest growth market. And this is despite the turmoil. And I think the second good news, as you alluded to, is India is not resting on its laurels. So while this growth is a good momentum, but we ensure that any dark clouds are addressed. And that's where we saw yesterday between RBI, Finance Ministry, and the overall government of India actually playing an near perfect tandem through a series of maneuvers. So the repo rate stayed same. That is, I think, essentially RBI saying, we know inflation is volatile, but let the credit rate growth grow, and we will see what happens next. And credit growth is already at about 16%. We saw a series of comforting measures for FIIs in the bond market securities. We have invited more long-term investments to come in, and we are also giving a series of concessions on ensuring the hedging risk for dollar is taken by RBI, while banks go both for institution as well as FCNR. And I think net, even on a conservative basis, everyone expects that's a 30 to $50 billion inflow expected between now to September. So I think as you talked of big, in fact, today I just saw that number is 80 billion. I'm sure as it progresses, we are going to beat it just like all the estimates. So great GDP growth driven by manufacturing, services, industrial production, preparing for defense, I think, is the perfect match which we are playing.
Yeah, and it's almost like a tennis match as that we're playing. In India, a Polish tennis player has reached the finals of Roland Garros, and just like the ball would be in my court now, I can also give you the same good news from Poland.
Sure.
We are looking at 3.7% real GDP growth. It's an unbelievable number considering in the current and climate around the world. Uh, Poland has been in one of the highest growing markets in Europe, and it's come as no surprise because just like you talked about hedging the risks, about making sure that there is stability so that businesses can grow, about a spectrum of investments, whether it comes from infrastructure, whether it comes from defense, technology. It's like the same playbook being repeated in Poland as well as India. It truly makes me very happy to see. And That's in fact a great segue to what we want to talk about next. Maybe we'll get into a bit more of the trade flow between EU and India. So,
Absolutely. So I think EU India seems to be. Can you hear me?
yes, we're good. We still
Hello.
live.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Yeah. So I'm saying,
Hello.
as you
Yeah,
mentioned,
we are still live. We are good, sir.
as I was saying, EU India or Poland India together doing Poland maxing. That's just the perfect way to do. And I think diving right into the EU India corridor, again, we saw some very interesting developments. Would love to get your perspective first. India placed almost at, is ready to place almost at 20,000 crore drone orders for indigenous drones. And I think it synchronizes very well with what you were talking about, the Poland's ambition in defense space. We have 120 plus startups heading to Nice, France, and meeting up Mr. Macron and PM Modi later this month. And we have tons of more investments off from Europe coming in. So would love to know how's Europe seeing this greater
Yeah.
traction, this build up.
So Poland has invested heavily in drone manufacturing and defense technologies. This is an area of great synergy that I see between Poland and India. Uh, the
Right.
Indian government, like you said, has placed this huge defense contract in place for 20,000 crore or worth of drones. Uh, I see that Poland, especially in the southern region of Poland, there is almost like a tech ecosystem growing because of the current geopolitical situation, and where drone technology is being emphasized and is being heavily invested in. That's one area of synergy. We are seeing that there are about 120 startups that are headed to Nice, to France, like you talked about, where they want to collaborate on biotech, semiconductors, quantum computing, space and defense tech. We are seeing a similar vibrant sort of startup ecosystem in Poland, where entrepreneurs and engineers are building in similar technology. So another area of synergy in India and Poland, as well as, of course, in greater Europe. We also had more good news out of Italy coming up. Isn't that correct?
Yes, absolutely. So I think the Italy's ALA group, which is one of the most advanced aerospace and defense folks, have just tied up with Indian group TVS Supply Chain Services to bring in their aerospace and defense engineering. And I think uh, the good thing is it is a Indian-led majority, so it's a 51-41 led by TVS Group. The second good thing is it brings in a significant capabilities and transfer of technologies. So that also leads to multiple positive spin-offs which come in maturing of the aerospace defense system, as well as also creating a supplier vendor ecosystem, high-end jobs. So I think that's a great thing. And I think the the underlying or the continuing theme I see, would love to know your perspective, that I think that the degree of traction is so wide and in depth at the same time that I think it's just right that the EU leaders have really called EU India as the mother of all deal. It's all happening. So right from aerospace, defense, drones to I think just 2 weeks back, PM Modi was in Nordic, and just earlier this week we heard IKEA is actually going to open India as a product development center. Yeah,
Uh,
so
uh,
India is going to design and
IKEA furniture.
manufacture for for Sweden and across the globe. So this is really
Yeah.
design, built in India and made for the world.
Yeah, I was just going to interrupt you, and I said, we always like to talk about all these deep technologies and talk about aerospace and AI and all these things. But what's more relatable than IKEA? IKEA is so famous in Poland. Pol, Poles love to go to IKEA and shop. Believe it or not, I love to go to IKEA just as a day out sometimes to see what's happening over there. They are, uh, and now to see this kind of collaboration between IKEA and India, it's amazing. You're going to have Indian designs, Indian products being sold in IKEA as well. On the flip side, you're going to see IKEA invest not only in India but also in Europe to make sure that this ecosystem and synergy it continues to flourish and develop. So you're seeing investments both in Europe as well as India, and this trade is fantastic for both sides. And you're right to say it's the mother of all deals that's turning into the giant of all deals into like a global free trade zone almost.
Absolutely, yeah. So I'm sure at just like a start of anything, whenever someone sees the numbers, everyone thinks it's an ambitious number. We have no idea it will be done. But the way the momentum is, I'm sure every single leader and company will say, "We never thought we made it uh, this far so early." So definitely,
Yeah,
the, the heat is on.
the heat truly is on. And what better way to talk about the heat being on in terms of capital being available, both for our European startups as well as Indian startups. Could you talk to us a little bit about how how the Indian government or how the ecosystem in India, the financial institution in India are dealing with providing capital for startups?
Sure. So I'll maybe break it up into two parts. One is, we talked at the start that one of the big growth factors for driving it is the huge spend on infrastructure, which India is
Right.
doing, roads, ports, train, uh, airports, the way. And I think just last week, one of the announcements we saw is that for the first time, government is considering a PPP model where they will allow the private equity, venture capital, the pension funds, the sovereign wealth funds to come in and invest in these right at the inception stage on a PPP basis. And I think this is a fundamental transition in a mindset because till now almost every single investments coming from the pension funds, sovereign wealth funds has always been about taking a mature ready asset and then trying to monetize upsell, but this is embedding it right at start and considering the so many $1 trillion uh, sovereign wealth funds which are there as well we will see a significant movement. And the good thing about this is we are not doing this in isolation. We are also quickly adapting. So a lot of thought process behind how this will happen is I think the policymakers have also picked up similar models both from UK and Australia and are trying to look at how to pivot that. So that's on the infrastructure, the boring part of it. And I think on the everyone likes to see the D2C fintech. That's where all the action is. And therein again, I think a good thing is Japan seems to be becoming another very uh, deeply invested in our technology, in our infrastructure, and now in terms of financial capital. So, two things I picked up this week. One was MUFG has decided to bring in into India a 250 to a $400 million initial fund to look at fintech, high tech, etc. But the key thing, very interesting, which I learned is how they position it that this is a Kaizen fund. So they will go deal by deal and possibly go deeper to ensure the value is created and then really develop it to a next level, which is very different from how earlier everyone was doing a huge amount of deals. So I think this focused, very serious, good foundational build up, use the current things. I think it's a great approach, and I thought I will just highlight the two very diverse ends of the spectrum, but we are doing whatever it takes to bring that investment. What's your take
Yeah,
on it?
and it's fantastic to see that there is uh, a, a multifaceted approach to things, and we are seeing the same being implemented in Europe. I would like to again bring in the example of Poland. Last time on our audio podcast, we talked about how we see that the business is being built fundamentally on trust. And just like
Yes.
we spoke about how India and South Korea are collaborating on trust, we are seeing in India and Japan collaborate on trust, and we are seeing Japan and Poland collaborate on trust. So you're now seeing in a multipolar world where it is being everything is financial and everything is pragmatic. There is this focus on creating jobs, for creating abundance for people, and growing the economy by making capital available for small businesses, mid-sized businesses, as well as conglomerates. We had this announcement that Google is raising so much capital once again to invest around the world, not just in the US. And you're
Yeah,
seeing that the investments. Go ahead.
no,
No,
I'm
go ahead.
saying yes, they already have a commitment of 15 billion for one of the biggest data centers in Vizag. So at least
Yeah.
15 of the 85 is coming here.
Yeah, 15 of the 85 is coming into India. And there was another one which spoke about another data center, I believe recently. There was another
Yeah.
announcement and which was for
As you
India, another
always say, 2x is the new X. So if Google is
2x,
15 billion, then now we have Air Trunk and Blackstone as 30 billion. So
30
that
billion.
was 3
And
gigawatt. This is 5 gigawatt.
yeah, and we are seeing this inflow of capital based on trust, whether it is from Japan to Poland, Poland to India, India to Australia, Australia to India, US to India. It's all being based on pure pragmatism and pure trust, which is in fact the way things should be. Yeah, it shouldn't. There shouldn't be. Go ahead.
No, no, please go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. So this is the way, in fact, things should be. Uh, uh, there should be this clear understanding of a rising. They say a rising tide lifts all the boats. So if we
Absolutely.
make sure that this kind of capital is available everywhere for all kinds of startups, for all kinds of entrepreneurs and engineers, at something great, not only in India but also in Europe, and that's what my macro overall take is.
No, absolutely. And I think you made a great point, Chandan, that I think in the new multipolar world, I think the relationships which will outlast are the one which are built on that win-win situation. So it is not about how I have to
Win-win
extract,
and
or any
trust.
one country or any one company has to extract the max from the others. It need not be buyer seller. It need not be vendor supplier. It is uh, we are together building the world. One set of country or investors need growth. The other set of companies, investors have the opportunity, and we marry that. And I think the second point, as you made in all this multipolar, ultimately money flows where is the business, right? So in fact, just earlier this week, I think
Correct.
Nikkei put up a report that the business is flowing, the factories are flowing, and hence the money is flowing. So the Japanese second-tier banks are actually shutting down almost 20% of their branches in China, and are re opening in India and Singapore, because that's where they see the business and the money flow. So ultimately, I think it all boils down that we ensure factories are coming up, we ensure the actual real business is happening, the money will definitely flow. In fact, I think one of the groups, Kyoto Financial Group, their chief investment officer made a very interesting observation when asked about this, saying, I simply want to be there where the maximum opportunity is there, and hence I will take my branches, my finance, and my people to where it is growing.
And, and that's where you see the GDP numbers. That's
Absolutely.
there is no there, everybody likes to ask what's the magic formula for Poland? What's the magic formula in India? And there is no magic formula. This is not rocket science. You just create an environment of trust with low friction, and and there you go. Sooner or later, it takes time for things to roll. This is not an overnight success. Poland has been working at this for 30 years. India has been working at this for, I would say, the last 80 years. So it's not an overnight success, but as long as you create this frictionless environment, and that's where the money likes to flow, where there's no friction. Speaking of friction, coming back to some more hot topics that we had this week, we talked a lot about. We were exchanging a lot of views on X, and with other followers on X, on minerals and on some battery processing. Can you talk a bit more about that? Because I think that's something that is important to Europe as well as India.
Absolutely. So I think again, both EU and India, and even some parts of even I think US, uh, our interests are aligned to move out from extreme dependence where the world currently has on China. And I think people have realized it, and they are acting on it. As they say, the best time to do this was 2 decades back. The second best time is now. So I think we are working on the second best time, and the good thing we saw was that again, multiple approaches in a very short time. If I just pick up last week, as you talked of, we had government level engagements with Myanmar. We have actually, India's got the mining rights from some of the fields where rare earth was being mined by China. That's coming to India. Indian government has been engaged with Chile to get some of the mining rights as well as access, long-term access, because they have almost significant invest reserves available for copper as well as some of the other lithium and other things. We saw, in fact, just 2 days back, the government is proposing to announce a dedicated incentive scheme only for lithium and cobalt processing. And they're planning to
Wow.
put a 3,000 crore investment. And this is over and above close to about 7,000 crores, 7,000 plus crores of National Critical Minerals Mission program, which is already getting engaged. And will some of it will start translating into real business? Yes, because ultimately everyone wants to let go of the current dependencies. Just one startup, Loham, uh, from India, has
Oh, yes.
announced a ambitious scheme. They are already in battery recycling in India and trying to reuse the elements. And what they are saying is very interesting. They're saying, yes, I will do recycling at home, but I will go and tie up with in Africa and Zimbabwe and other countries. And I will also ensure that I have more minerals which are available, which I will then source and process. And they're just at a start, but I think they've already made a announcement. They're going to make a close to 3,000 crore worth of capex investments and an ambition to have a 10,000 crore of revenue top line in the next 5 years. So that's a significant investments. I think two key trends which emerge. One is at a government or at a bilateral or a multilateral level, we are seeing everyone wants to move away from the extreme dependence. So you create these multiple consortium, ADBS, we talked about it some time back. ADB has committed a $70 billion roadmap for that. You have Pax Silica, which is there. You have uh, the latest Chile and some of the the Cord announced a $20 billion incentive for building it up. So I think you source it, you have a long-term supply available, you process it, and you move up the value chain. And then at a company level, we will see one, companies see what is required to possibly create in India or in EU away only from China to be truly China, move from China plus one to possibly China plus better. And second
Yeah.
is, you really develop new technologies which are maybe like some of the companies are working on, ensure can we develop a rare earth free magnet motors, which can be the new world at all.
Yeah, and we have exactly the same focus in Europe right now. It's all about diversification and another area of synergy, which is already being talked about by not only many startup but many legacy companies as well. To source rare earth minerals, to source energy, to source petrochemical products from India, but after it has been refined or after it has been in processed. Uh, this technology collaboration is beneficial for Europe as well as India, and it's actually critical in the next phase of economic growth. Yes, we have reached 7.8 and we have reached stellar numbers across the EU. Poland and stands out, but this phase of getting energy diversification as well as mineral and rare earth diversification, this is absolutely critical for the next phase of growth. For the next, I would like to predict 5% and maybe 17% one day, if I'm not being too bold. But I think that's where the next critical phase lies.
Absolutely. I fully agree. And I think that's where I think a lot of investors as well as the serious business guys are realizing that there is a short-term volatility, there is a short-term uncertainty, there is a war, there is a supply chain crisis. There are some factors which you can control and there are some factors you can't. So we rather focus on our capabilities and abilities, what we really can focus on. Maybe I think I would look at it. Maybe there's a short-term noise, but you just pull back and look at the bigger picture. Maybe there's a long-term music symphony which is in the play. So you ignore the short-term noise, and you'll finally have the symphony and a winning win-win music coming out.
Great. Yeah, like we heard a lot of business leaders say, you have not seen anything yet. You ain't seen
Yes,
nothing. You ain't seen nothing yet. So
yes,
I
the
think
best is yet to come.
the best is yet to come. The future looks really bright. Well, Sanjay ji, it was great talking to you again, and let's sign off for this episode 4, our first video episode. I hope people have enjoyed it, and we look forward to getting some feedback from them.
Absolutely, always a pleasure. Let's make EU India and together with Make in India the destination to be which everyone aspires for.